Hi, Steffi.
Hi. Hi.
And we're good to go, Ryan.
Hi, Steffi.
We
Hello.
are now officially live on YouTube, guys.
Hello and welcome everyone to another episode of the Space Update, a live episode this one. We're part of the fantastic Total Space Network. Coming up today, we'll be talking Starship, Skyrora, Virgin Galactic, plus all the latest space news. I'm your host Ryan, and join me today is...
I'm Mikko, the host of Deep Dive Fridays.
I'm another Space Note. I just linger around the show.
I'm Rich LB, co-host of Becoming Multiplanetary. Thank you for having me on the show, Ryan.
You were merely adopted the Dark. I was born in it, molded by it. Just kidding. I'm Kage, also a co-host of Becoming Multiplanetary. Hold on, let me take the mask off. Just kidding, it's another mask! Okay, alright, seriously. Just kidding, no, not really. Hi, everybody. Thanks for having me.
No problem at all, no problem at all. Let's just get to it, guys. First off, let's address what's exciting news of the year. NROL 44 finally launched.
Yes.
After long, since 27th of August, that one. After many delays, problems with the pad, problems with the rocket, it finally got launched, that one. Glad to see it finally launch.
Yeah, it was about time. What was it? Almost 6 months?
Well, not 6 months, about 3 to 4, something like that. August, 27th of August, end of August, so about nearly 4 months. But I'm sure there's been a few more longer delays than that, but glad to see
Just utterly riddled with problem after problem, wasn't it? Good to see it finally get off the ground.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, beautiful night launch.
So, was the last time they tried to launch it prior to that on the September 30th when they had that computer glitch?
I believe so, yeah. They had a computer glitch, then there was problems with the pad, I think, last, because the swing arms wouldn't move out the way of the pad. So they literally had to drain hundreds, if not thousands of gallons of oil out of the entire pad and then take it all apart, put it back together, whatever they needed to do. Just seems absolutely plagued that entire system as a whole, really. Hence why it's getting took out of action next year and then Vulcan coming online.
Yeah, let's not forget the super secret payload.
And also moving on, obviously the elephant in the room, we had Sn8 Launch. We obviously covered that in Miko's deep dive just earlier on in the week and everything, or last week even. Seems only like a few days ago, but it's nearly a week ago now.
Yeah, we've been pushing out content too fast.
We also covered that in the most recent Becoming Multiplanetary episode, which has it been released yet, or is that it's out now? Okay,
Today.
Yeah. So yeah, we also covered it there and talked with Steffi, also known as Split Second Mom from What About It, and TJ Cooney from I Need More Space, and it was a really interesting discussion about where not only the reactions from everyone about Sn8, which was just absolutely breathtaking, but also where that's going to take us, and it's just that's the start of everything, really, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
Sorry, can I just quickly interject for a second? We are having a bit of a technical problem. Currently, if you're on a mobile device, there's a couple of our hosts blocked by the chat overlay. We will fix that now for you.
There's only you that's partially blocked by the chat overlay.
I've just sent you a screenshot of a chat overlay, Rich.
But fantastic to see Sn8 launch and everything. Absolutely incredible. Which I was just absolutely panicking. Will it launch? Will it do the flip? Will it land? And then when it got that, like literally that close to landing, it was just absolutely unbelievable. When I saw the green flame, I thought, this isn't going to do it. Something wrong with the fuel mix there. It's a LOX rich or something. And then
Engine rich.
yeah, engine rich.
I was totally certain that it was not going to make that kick maneuver, and it was going to flip belly up and just land on its side, and like 95% of the way, almost there.
Yeah. When it was at the apogee, when it was like on that final engine at the very top, it looked like it was almost going to fall backwards, and then the thrusters kicked it, and then it dropped, and then it was kind of like.
Well, I meant more the when it came in on the belly flop and it kicked itself out and came down back vertical. I didn't think it was going to make it that far. Like I figured it was going to overshoot.
That was the point where it was just like, oh my god, it's going to do it. It's going to do it. It's actually going to do it.
Yeah, really.
That's not. But that was just unbelievable to see. We're still having a few technical difficulties there, Aaron.
All fixed.
Spot on. But now we've got SN9 a little bit drunk in the high bay, going a bit sideways there.
I think they actually got SN9 up again.
Yeah, just literally, I believe last night they got the one of the large cranes out and everything back up on. Either repaired the stand that it's getting built on, or just put a new one in altogether. So hopefully we'll see that one out in the pad literally within within the next week or two, if once all those repairs to the flaps and everything are done.
I mean, it's minimal repair. It's lucky that it was only a slight topple it took, and that it was inside the high bay. You know, that could have been much worse. So hopefully it shouldn't cause too much of a delay for the Starship program.
But do you think that they will actually fly it? Because there seems to be a little bit of some damage that you can see on it, and I mean, when you really think about it, there are so many intricate things that they've already built on top of it, so many welds that are now inaccessible, so many components that they've put into place, electronics and so many other things that it would just, it might even take too much to inspect it to make sure that it's flight worthy than just to scrap it and start over with SN10, would it be?
I think if it passes the pressure test and everything else, I think that proves that the majority of the internals are okay pressure-wise, and then if they want to do the static fire, it'll prove out whether all the fuel lines are okay and nothing's buckled or anything like that.
So, last I heard, one of the flaps got damaged when it tipped over. So I don't know if the actuators are actually pretty badly damaged on that. I'm not sure if it'll go.
There is a porthole in the side that you can actually get in before it gets fueled up and everything. So I'm assuming there must be somewhere they can get into a section of it, if not maybe all of it, depending if they want any bodge repairs on the inside.
Bit of a tight squeeze poking around in there.
Yeah.
And moving on to some more news, Skyrora, their Skylark L vehicle, undergoing ground segment integration testing for flight preparations in 2021, just the second quarter. So we're looking at spring, summer next year that we might see Skyrora here in the UK, check back to the skies for the first time in, 50 years since the Black Arrow project?
It's been a long time.
A long time. Well overdue, that one. And obviously we had Robin Haig on a previous show interviewing him about the recent milestone with their vacuum engine, and literally Robin just introducing Skyrora and everything on that episode. But I think it's exciting that the UK are returning to space, because obviously we've got a lot of satellite companies here in the UK and everything, Surrey Satellites and many others. I think it's just absolutely incredible. And then you've got Orbex as well, with their Prime rocket. But I believe they're aiming for 2022, so Skyrora might just beat them to the finishing line on that one.
I think it's great, and it's important, as you were saying, the UK becoming a launch provider. You know, we make world-class satellites, undeniable, you know, world-renowned satellites. How many of those do we actually launch? 0. Things are changing for the UK, and with the birth of the first UK spaceport, we're going to see some big players moving to town as well, I would imagine.
Yeah, and obviously you've got the spaceport up in Sutherland getting built, and then there's potentially one in the up in the Shetland Islands and everything. Loads of controversy over that and the money inside and everything like that, and why we've got 2 spaceports when we've only got 2 potential companies in the UK. I don't know how that'll work, because I know the Skylark L, sorry, that's actually going to be like a mobile launch vehicle that can be launched from anywhere. So it doesn't necessarily need these essentially launch pads that are being built. It can essentially just be launched off of the back of a converted flatbed truck of sorts.
Plus, one of the nice things is with the current and proposed launch sites in the United Kingdom, there are a lot of inclinations that they can launch into. So they have a whole lot of customers that they could make themselves accessible to, which would be fantastic for a lot of launch providers and good for jobs, good for building up a lot more infrastructure. There's a lot of good things to come from that.
It wouldn't surprise me if they ended up putting a lot of launch sites out on somewhere like the Western Isles of Scotland, where it's a bit more remote.
Yeah, because obviously you don't want any rockets launching anywhere near small towns or villages up in the north, or even just anywhere in the path of the rocket while it's up launching in the air. Going, obviously it doesn't go straight up, it goes sideways into space, as we all know.
Not to mention I don't know if you know this, but the central, if you were to draw a line up the centre of England to Scotland, that's more or less your main flight corridor for any flights coming from the top of Scotland down into England. So you can't really put anything in the centre of Scotland to launch because you'll be obstructing the flight corridor.
Yeah, definitely. So it's all planned out and everything. And Orbex have recently announced secured 24 million in a funding round. So obviously, as last few weeks, we've seen them advertising loads more new jobs for technicians, engineers, and the like. So a lot going on at Orbex, considering we haven't seen too much from them.
Well,
It's good. I mean,
go ahead.
Go ahead, Rich.
Oh, okay. We actually, funnily enough, Aaron actually pinged me one of their adverts because they were looking for coders as well. Pinged me one on Twitter, and I'm like, oh, Orbex are looking to recruit. Okay. Considering they just.
You were just half a little bit tempted. You're like, oh, should I?
Well, it's literally like maybe 10-15 minutes sort of that way for me. So. Just off the coast of that planet there.
Yeah. just where the little nebula is and everything, yeah. But marketing one as well, I was slightly tempted with that, but being the face of Orbex, nah. Don't think I quite cut it, I don't think. But you never know.
I mean, I think there's not just Orbex and Skyrora, in terms of the UK becoming an active launch provider. I know, I believe it was me and you, Ryan, that were talking about the Lockheed Martin interest in the UK spaceport. There's also Black Arrow Space Technologies, who we've been in contact with, that plan to do a really amazing sea launch system. They're coming on to talk space with us at some point in Total Space.
Yeah. But it's all fantastic. Everything that's going on in the UK in general, really. And just jumping to another round of funding. NASA's actually awarded Firefly, Astra, and Relativity Space, each around about. Astra and Relativity got 3 million worth of funding, and Firefly 9.8. Although 3 of these haven't quite launched just yet, they're on the brink, and this gives them a lot of drive to get their vehicles up into space, because obviously Astra, literally in the next day or so, they're launching, fingers crossed for them, on their second launch. And Firefly are gearing up for their very first launch. It'll be absolutely amazing to see as well. And Relativity Space, not too familiar with them, but I'm sure they're not too far off as well.
Any predictions on what's going to happen to Astra?
hopefully it'll get orbital this time. Obviously, it went slightly out of range, and you had to actually cut the engine and bring it back down. I believe.
Yeah, that's what they did.
Astra have been selected recently by NASA to deliver CubeSats, have they not?
That's what this part of the funding was, the NASA Venture Class Launch Service Demonstration 2 contract, it's called. Bit of a mouthful, that's what it is. And that's part of this. They got 3.9 million, as well as the two other companies. So, good little drive for nanosats and microsats and CubeSats of various sizes.
It was cool
Yeah,
that they
it's
won that
great to
contract.
see. Yeah, great to see them having a contract since they lost the DARPA contract earlier.
Yeah, I believe they were the only ones left in the DARPA contract, because they started off with quite a few companies involved, and then people dropped out and companies went bust and this, that, and the other. And then by the end of it, I think I believe Astra were the only ones left in it technically, and they're still trying to achieve some of the goals within that, even though it's not technically a race as such anymore, because they're the only ones left. So if they win, they win. If they don't, they don't, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So we have Space Alan asking in the YouTube chat if there is any update on the Bishop's airlock.
Well, that sounds like
Anybody
a
wants to take that one?
question. Miko, we spoke briefly about the Bishop airlock during space stations, did we not?
Yeah, the Bishop airlock is on the station, but I haven't been keeping up to date whether they have actually connected it yet to the ISS, or is it still on the trunk of the Dragon?
I believe it's still on the trunk at the moment, and they're going to fit it at some point. They've only just got there a day or so at the International Space Station, a few days ago. But obviously, it's fitted to the back of that trunk, so they'll have to disconnect it. I imagine they'll probably do it just before the Dragon module leaves the space station, just to not expose that heat shielding as the capsule, if they do intend to recover it.
Going back to Astra, thank you, Susie, for pointing this out. They have apparently their next launch attempt tomorrow at 1900 UTC, so 7 p.m. UTC.
Yeah, I'm going to try and tune in for that, even though it's not live anywhere. We can follow it up on Twitter, because they're quite active on Twitter, and they've got a few photographers down on site as well. Just unbelievable scenery of that place where Astra is, though.
So whereabouts is it then?
Kodiak, Alaska.
Oh wow! Yeah, I bet you'd get some great views out there.
Yeah, it's just literally you see the rocket, then it's just hilly, snowy mountains in the background. It's just like, why can't all rockets just launch with this scenery? And also we've got recently Virgin Galactic made another attempt at getting their Spaceship 2 Unity up into orbit. To do that, I don't know if you've seen the way manoeuvre it does. Once it's up in space, it goes up, does a bit of a backflip, then it comes back down to space. Hoping to get passengers and satellites and experiments on that little on that vehicle. Early update on the flight: the ignition sequence for the rocket didn't actually complete, which at the end of the day just brought the vehicle back down to ground, which echoes similarities to Virgin orbit with their Launcher 1 rocket from that 747.
Yeah. Did any of you watch the live stream that was streamed by NASA Spaceflight? Jack Bayer was running with his car and filming the skies, and he actually got the ignition of the space plane, but after about a second the engine just turned off. Yeah,
I've seen bits of the replays and everything, so I never managed to catch it, but you just saw like the engine trying to kick in and the smoke coming out, and then just nothing really happening. So as soon as you just saw it, just like, yep, that thing's going back down. But luckily it's a space plane, so it's easily recoverable, could just land safely, just like a little bit like the shuttle in a way, to to a certain extent.
Yeah, glad everyone is safe.
I mean, I'd rather them be safe and abort a launch attempt than have a boom. And I know that we're all rocket nerds, we like booms, but at the same time, it's better to see successful launches than failed launches.
Especially with humans involved.
Yeah, for sure.
And also a little bit news on Virgin Orbit. They were also planning to do a few tests themselves on the Launcher One, but due to whatever that horrible thing that's going around in the world at the moment, apparently a few of the staff have caught it and just took precautionary measures. Yeah, wear your mask, people.
Yeah, wear a mask, everyone.
Unless you're indoors like us, lot. But apparently a couple of staff caught it and just took precautionary measures, and due to that many people just taking the measures needed, it just wasn't safe to proceed with the launch.
Speaking of Virgin, the attempt that they just did, it's it's great that everything ended safely. But one thing that is a little bit concerning is the impact that it had on the company. So this has set them back until at least somewhere in Q1 of 2021 at the earliest. And it also had a huge impact on their share prices. They went from 32 euro and 3 cents down to, I think it's currently 26 euro and 54 cents. So down 17%, instantaneous drop. So it's going to be a challenge for them to recover from that. I'm sure they will, but they're going to feel the sting of this for a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, they're still in the testing stage, so it's until they get all that hardware inside the vehicle absolutely nailed and done. That's when we'll start to see people in commercial payloads and the people of the general public paying good money to go up there into space.
I mean, Virgin have been trying to put people in space a while now. They're probably one of the giants of the space tourism industry that's now starting, but we're still at that point where we're transitioning over, despite being one of the biggest names in space tourism. How many people have they sent to space? We're getting there, but I think it's slow and steady.
Space is hard, right?
Yeah.
I mean, what is it, rocket science?
And obviously, New Shepard, that's supposed to be just for the general public eventually. They've got that capsule that'll just eventually just to the edge of space and then just float back down. We've seen a few tests of that already. That's, I don't know how far off they are with the little New Shepard for people that are paying public to go on that. But to get people onto vehicles, it's a long, arguable process, really, isn't it?
I have to say, when it comes to Blue Origin, my one sort of guilty pleasure, I'll admit, is I really can't wait to see what they do with the New Glenn.
Since we've only seen what the payload fairing and a B4 engine, that's about it. That's all we've seen, literally. I think maybe a few little snippets of other things.
I think when it does eventually get built, it's going to be awe-inspiring.
Yeah, for sure.
And that landing sequence, how they initiate all that and everything. We've sort of seen mock-ups and people's CGI versions of it and everything like that, and around on YouTube, and how people think it's going to go landing on a ship, landing on the ground, and all that. But until you see it, it's just like 1,000 times better, isn't it?
And it's hard to overstate just how massive this thing is. It's a little bit bigger than, actually a decent amount bigger than what an entire Starship Super Heavy stack will be. So it's going to be huge. And
it's no small rocket.
Yeah, it's not a small rocket by any means. And when that thing finally takes flight, and especially when it makes its landing attempts, it's going to be really interesting, especially given the fact that we've had so much publicity from Starship. We've been seeing it built before our eyes and prototypes before our eyes, along with at least a little bit of Super Heavy. But pretty much everything about New Glenn has been done in absolute secrecy, save for a couple of things mentioned, like the fairings and the BE4 engine. But when that is finally debuted, whoa.
I mean, obviously, we've got ULA with Vulcan testing those engines first, so that's the only thing we're going to see first. And I believe Tori says the E4 engines, ULA are actually going to do the test run with them before New Glenn even flies, in theory. So Blue Origin and ULA are quite closely knit by the looks of it, helping each other out.
Yeah, speaking of new rockets, did anyone notice Roscosmos launched Angara rocket today? And I think it was successful.
First time in
It was
6 years.
successful.
Yeah, first time in 6 years.
Yeah.
The third launch, I think, of that rocket officially. Something like that. There are not very many launches, considering it's been around for, I don't know, what's 8 to 9 years, maybe.
Yeah, it's been a long time in development.
And obviously we've got them trying to develop their own Falcon 9 style rocket as well, aren't they? We're seeing that bumbling around up on Twitter and everywhere.
Yeah, we have seen, yeah.
Essentially a miniature Falcon 9, literally copying it as we've seen with the Iran space shuttle and everything like that, and other projects. Why solve a problem that's already been solved at the end of the day?
Yeah, but I mean, if you look at, for example, take the Buran and the Energia rocket that it was strapped to, they took something that was already solved, but they did so much better with it, and arguably so much better with it in a lot of ways. Not least to mention the fact that they made it a completely autonomous system, whereas the space shuttle, from its very inception, had to be piloted, needed people on board. They also ditched the solid rocket boosters and went with fully liquid fueled rockets on the entire stack, so they could do whatever they needed with it. If they needed to shut it down midway through flight, they could. I mean, granted, would people survive that glide back in? Maybe not, but they still could do that if they needed to. So I'm actually kind of interested to see where they go with, let's say they do a copycat Falcon 9. They could take something that has been solved and do it even better still. How could you improve on something like that? Who knows? But maybe they can. I'm actually quite excited to see that.
Yeah, and it's essentially is a Falcon 9. I think it's about 25 to 30% smaller, so it's not the same size and won't have the same power and everything. But I think it'd be incredible to see another country essentially copy the same process and try and do it the same thing again. It'd be quite interesting to see, especially for Elon. I'm sure he'll ridicule them all the way along.
Yeah, the Russian version has methane engines or Methalox engine, as well as the European one. And I don't know about Chinese one, but all of them could be even cheaper than Falcon 9.
Definitely.
I mean, SpaceX have an 11-year lead in terms of reusable rockets. The closest company behind them are Blue Origin with the New Shepard. You know, that's the only other use case of a usable rocket that's actually flown. And look at how far behind the development program for the Falcon 9 that is. You know, and it's about, as I've said to a lot of people, I am a SpaceX fanboy. I'll be the first person to tell you that. When everybody's putting their hopes and dreams on Starship, it's for a reason. It's because SpaceX are ahead of everybody else. You know, this is the second generation reusable architecture they're working on. Most companies don't even have a first generation technology architecture. You know, it's like they've broken so many records at this point that I believe that they've probably just got someone living in-house from Guinness at Hawthorne. You know, it's like they're just record after record they're breaking. It's for a reason. You know,
the SpaceX chapter of the book.
Yeah, it's incredible. Like, if you're looking at milestones in terms of what a rocket can do, you know, look no further than the Falcon 9. When everybody laughed at the Grasshopper and Elon trying to throw rockets into the sky and land them back down 10 years ago, when it was laughable and people just thought the guy was a moron Here we are 10 years later, second generation hardware, and things are heating up.
Definitely.
Yeah, and I think no one laughed after Sn8 hop.
Yeah, for sure.
The media are all around the Sn8 launch and art failure, if you like, or whatever you want to call it. It was just absolutely just stupid. All the media saying it was just straight away saying, "Oh, it's a failure." It wasn't intended to actually get anywhere near where it actually got. I mean, Elon didn't think it would get off the launch pad, and never mind the flipping up in the air and then come back down and then almost landing. I think the media portrayed it quite badly, really. We could have done a lot better.
Well, I mean, of course they're going to go for the sensationalist thing. Rocket explodes, but nobody injured. Yay. But I mean, realistically speaking, that truly was the precipice of where the next generation of rocket technology, what they're developing, that was that precipice moment. That was that cornerstone of really showing the next generation where things are going to go from here, because they were so damn close with that. 95% of the way there. A few more tweaks here and there, and they're probably going to stick the landing on maybe even the next attempt. Should SN9 pass all of its tests and be ready to be, flight certified, flight worthy, it might stick that landing. They might actually do this, and then what's next after that? A few more prototypes of Starship, build a Super Heavy, and just let her rip.
Yeah. I mean, I think by SN10 it's going to definitely land. Obviously, they have to do that modification with the landing legs because the current modifications on that aren't enough. So Elon's obviously got that conundrum under his belt and trying to solve it. So when we will see that by SN15 a little bit later on, as he's stated online and everything, we'll see what changes come out in the coming weeks, months, however quick they're building at such a fast pace. I think SN15 might come by easily January, February.
Yeah, could even. Okay, maybe not this year. But yeah, January, February.
I mean, we're at the rapid development stage of Starship prototyping by this point. Elon made it very clear at an early stage exactly what's required to make this program work. And along that timeline of events is the rapid prototyping stage. When everyone's going, oh, they've got noses laying around, they've got tank sections laying around, what's going on here? They've got too much hardware. It's for a reason. SpaceX plans to continue throwing things into the air over Texas, and they plan to do it frequently.
And let's not forget that one of the things that Elon has done as quite a brilliant maneuver is that for the longest time people looked at it as like, why is he CEO of so many companies? Why is he doing Tesla and SpaceX and Boring Company and everything else that he's involved in? But really, it's because they're all connected in some way, and he's made no real secret about it. He's even kind of said as much a few times that one of the things that I think is going to be really interesting is all the lessons that he's learned, all the knowledge that he's gained, or rather, not really him so much, but all of the engineers that work for Tesla, and we'll pull that into SpaceX, taking that assembly line mentality from Tesla and turning that into something translated for Starship, where you just start churning out Starships and Super Heavies, maybe one or two a week, even or more, using similar technology to what is already used in Tesla. That's not that far away. I mean, remember, it was only only about 5 years ago that they made the first landing attempt of a Falcon 9.
There was a picture of that online of how it started and how it's going, kind of thing. It was a picture of the I think it was one of the early, obviously, Falcon 1s or Falcon 9s. I can't quite remember what the picture was of, and then it was just obviously Starship and how Falcon 9 is now. It's just incredible to, if you compare that to any other company out there, the development scale from beginning to end, I think it's a hell of a lot quicker than anything else out there.
I mean, we haven't seen this kind of rapid development and going from prototype to something that is actually doing things, and now in this case, launching humans, at least with the Falcon 9, since the Saturn V era, since the Apollo era. Like, there's been nothing that fast with that much velocity, pun intended, since then.
I mean, the thing is, I've said it several times, and we've all said it several times on multiple podcasts. SpaceX are so open about this process. You go to ULA or Blue Origin and ask them how their rocket's being built, where their rocket's being built. You'll get kicked out of the site. SpaceX, they're like, yeah, we'll let 60 people live stream an event. And that's bleeding over, like Skyrora, who we also mention quite a lot. We're big fans of Skyrora here at Total Space. They're also trying to adopt that open strategy and that open policy. And they're trying to push out on social media and say, look, this is what we are doing. This is what we're achieving. And they're inviting the likes of Ryan, the likes of Felix at What About It.
Don't know why they want me, like.
But the point is, they want enthusiastic people on site to witness these milestones. Even that, like, SpaceX haven't gone that far. But the point is that bleed over from what SpaceX are doing is leading to other industry future giants adopting that same strategy.
Yeah, and it's just incredible to see. I mean, there's so many new projects going on there, especially with the large companies doing the new rockets, but then you've got all the new and smaller companies doing all the incredible developments as well, with the likes of Rocket Lab doing incredible things that they're doing. Just a lot going on in space in general right now. It's incredible to see, especially in this day and age.
Ryan, do we have time to segue into a listener-selected topic?
Yeah, questions. If anyone's got any questions there, YouTube, Discord, just fire away, everyone.
So, Warhawk wanted us to cover a little bit about Artemis Funding. Now, I've got something to start off with on this. We already know that the Senate recently announced that they allocated $1 billion to NASA, which is about $2.4 billion shy of what they wanted for the lunar landers. So, as of right now, we believe that project may be delayed because of that lack of funding. And from the 12 funding bills that they released for the following year, the legislation would allocate a total of roughly $23.5 billion to NASA overall, an increase over last year's NASA budget, but roughly $1.75 billion less than the administration has asked for. So we'll start there.
Yeah, I mean, funding's key on anything, but when it comes to Artemis and all of that, it's just incredible the amount of money that's going into it. When you compare it to the likes of SpaceX, it's probably a bit unfair to compare it to that in a way, but at the same time, when you can see what they're doing and everything, it's kind of like, why are you spending so much on that? Why are you spending so much on this? But hopefully they can secure that last bit of funding to at least see the project through, rather than letting all that hard work from not just America, but Europe and all around the world, because it's a lot of countries are contributing a hell of a lot of work towards the SLS and the Artemis program as a whole.
And the thing that will help with the funding is that they actually released a list of possible candidates for Artemis mission astronauts.
And don't forget, when faced with impossible challenges of a reduced budget, do remember there are companies out there that do very much enjoy the memes, and they will go and collect moon rocks for you for $1, namely Lunar Outpost.
No, I mean, the thing is that everybody's worried about the Artemis budget, and it is a lot of money. I'm not saying I wouldn't like the shortfall in this year's budget difference, but then when you compare it on the grand scheme on, say, military budgets or other government projects, I'm not necessarily going to get too political here, but other government projects, the cost is 10, 15, 20 times what the space budget is per year. But we do, there is companies that work on shoestring budgets. There's companies that work on large budgets. Ultimately, the SLS is going to get built, and the Artemis will go ahead, irrespective of a billion in shortfall of funding. It's backed by a government. They're already heavily invested into the entire development of the SLS and everything else to accompany the moonshot. It's going to go ahead, make no mistake.
Definitely. It's just incredible to see. We're still seeing the rocket being tested. I believe the core boosters almost in its final stage to light those five engines down at the test stand. I believe it's the Stennis Center. I can't quite remember the name of it, but the core booster anyway. That's getting tested very soon, so it'll be incredible to see all those engines fire up. We've already seen the side boosters out in the desert, blown a hole in the mountain. It'd be nice to see those core booster engines light up.
Yeah, for sure. And springing back to Artemis, I know, Kage, you mourn the loss of the Lunar Gateway quite keenly.
Well, it's not lost yet. It's just no longer considered critical for the Artemis program. So it's one of those things where if they have to find something to scrap because they've lost so much of the budget ask, then that's probably going to be the first big thing on the axe, or to be axed rather. And I do in advance mourn that because I think it's one of those things where, like, if you look at especially the Saturn V and the Apollo program, before we sent astronauts to the moon, we first sent them around the moon. Before we did that, we first sent them into low Earth orbit to make sure that things worked. Before even that, we sent several Saturn V's up autonomously just to make sure that everything worked together. And so there is a good there's a lot to be said for doing something similar around the moon before we start sending human lives to Mars or Venus or anywhere else, really, because at the very least you can test how cosmic radiation will interact with human bodies for such a long duration in a moon orbit, in a lunar orbit, rather than just say, YOLO, yeet them to Mars and see what happens.
Yeet!
Well, we did speak a little bit about that whole moon first, Mars first attitude on BM last week, didn't we?
Yes, sir, we did.
Where can everyone catch that, Rich?
Say again?
Where can everyone catch that?
Oh, right, yeah, Becoming Multiplanetary. You can catch it right here on our YouTube channel. That's been uploaded as of Monday as well. Or you can catch it on Anchor and all of the various platforms it distributes to, including Spotify, Google Podcasts. There's quite a few. So wherever you listen to your podcasts, chances are, if you look up Total Space, you'll find us.
And
while we're talking about socials, for anybody who is watching this stream either live or who's catching it after the recording, make sure to hit the like button. That's very helpful. That helps us with engagements, make sure that we reach a wider audience and others can enjoy the content that you're also enjoying.
And since we're all doing shameless plugs, we do have a Patreon, and we do have Patreon supporters, funding coffee rounds, and just generally amazing people. You do get access to the Discord. We've got Patreon members right now listening in behind the scenes as we record the show. Most are chatting away in the YouTube chat as well. That is one of the perks of supporting Total Space, as well as enabling us to make better and better content. So think about potentially supporting us. That's Patreon/Total Space.
And also we've got the deep dive episodes with yourself, Miko, haven't we?
Yeah, deep dive Fridays are on Friday, and the next one will be about SpaceX booster fleet with Stinger NSW. tune into that.
Thanks very much, guys, for listening in and watching from wherever you are in the world. I've been Ryan from the Space Update.
I've been Mikko, the host of Deep Dive Fridays.
I've been another Space Nut. I do podcasts.
I've been Rich LB, co-host on Becoming Multiplanetary.
And finally, I am Kage, also co-host of Becoming Multiplanetary.
And just before we wrap up there, I'd just like to take my usual moment at the end of every episode.
Reel them off, Rich, come on.
Yep, exactly, you know it's coming.
Reel them off.
So, we'd like to give special thanks to all our Patreons. We have Sammy Escuro, What About It, Jishwan and Sebastian, Gio Pagliari, Framric, Susie R, and Marco. Thank you all very much for supporting the channel. And as Aaron said earlier, if you'd love to come and support the channel, you like to hear what we do as well, and you'd like to become a Patreon, you can find us at patreon.com/Total Space.
Thanks, guys. I'll catch you soon.
Thanks.
Thank you. Cheers.
Thank you. Take care. Have a good day, guys.